It was reading through my computer microphone. It does that. Dude, I hate this thing because anytime it gets if I update anything that uses the microphone, whether it's just an update to the computer or Zoom or anything else, it like fucks with all my presets. And so, like, normally I just open up Audacity and, just can hit record, and if the USB is plugged in, it automatically goes to the USB. But when it does a reset, it does that thing. If I don't catch it, then sadness ensues. And we just sound like we're talking through a tin can.
I got no time for that.
No, I can't fix that shit. I'm not a wizard. You know who is a wizard?
I don't.
Doctor Strange.
That's what I heard.
It's true. It's in his job title.
Sorcerer
got a little byline underneath his name.
Yeah.
Got to see him in a little movie not too long ago.
Indeed.
It was the good stuff. But before we get there, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery Podcast. As per usual, I am Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
Matt Trogdon.
And this is episode 209 of this little show that we do. As you guys have heard the last few issues, our boy Craig is still out and about in the world doing family stuff, taking care of family members. So we are Craigless once again, but that's okay. He is going to come back, we promise. You will hear his dulcet, sultry tones before all is said and done. Because we got his little third chair right here. We got it, set up, spot. It's just waiting on him.
Yep.
And we miss him and send out some love and lots of love to his family. Did I say this was episode 209? Did I say that yet?
You did.
I did. It's worth repeating. It's
Indeed.
Like 4 years plus one.
Right.
And as we are recording this, it is the day after Christmas. Santa Claus has jingled his way back up to the North Pole and has tucked himself back into bed with him and Mrs. Claus. But we hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. However you chose to spend it, and whatever you did, hopefully you got some cool goodies and surrounded yourself by people that you hold dear in your life, because that's what we should all do on holidays. I did. I had a great time. Got a little surprise last night. So my better half, who is a nurse, was supposed to have to work on Christmas night. He had to work Christmas Eve, Christmas night, and tonight. But they called him and gave him the night off. So
nice.
We went and hit up a little Chinese buffet and had some goodness.
Nice.
It was cool. It was nice to spend time with him on a holiday, because this is the second year that we were not going to be together. Second or third year that we weren't going to be able to be together on Christmas, and try to keep a strong front and bold face, but no, it didn't happen. So, how was your Christmas?
It was good. It was very chill.
Yeah,
those were nice.
Low key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your classic eat too much.
I don't know about
Sugar
you.
crash.
I needed that, though. Like, I know a lot of people like the excitement and the hustle and bustle of the holiday.
No.
I was so ready for just a day or three at the house where I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, I needed a break. No doubt about it.
It's just a reset, like just a mental and physical reset. Like, I didn't even go work out much over the holidays, and I need to, but it's just like, I'm going to give everything a rest.
Yep, good idea.
Well, while you were chilling like a villain.
Chillaxing even.
Ooh, look at you with the hip slang.
I know what's up.
You got your Tumblr account back up and running? OnlyFans, something, who knows. Yeah. So did you get any comics read while you were enjoying the holiday?
I did. I read a few.
Nice.
On my short stack, number one on my short stack is from Marvel, Moon Knight. This is number 6. This is number 2 in the horoscope arc. Writer's Jed McKay. Artist is Alessandro Capuccio. Colorist is Rachel Rosenberg. And then VC's Corey Pettit did the letters. Fun story. Really liking this new Moon Knight run.
Yeah, same.
Been a minute since we've had a really, pretty good Moon Knight run. So I'm hoping this really continues the strength that it's running on now.
The last Moon Knight run that I really, really got excited about was the Jeff Lemire, Greg Smallwood stuff. So that we got, I think that was the last time I really, really found the character compelling. So and this new series is excellent.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Second on my short stack is Marvel's Wolverine, number 19, by Benjamin Percy, Javier Fernandez, and Matthew Wilson. This continues to be strong. A lot of fun. Really dug this one. It's kind of a one-off Wolverine versus a Leviathan story.
I love that.
That was threatening.
Love that cover.
Yeah. That was threatening to Krakoa. So Logan's once again taking care of business.
Yeah.
And then third on my short stack is from Image. This is That Texas Blood number 13. This is actually titled The Christmas Special. This is by Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips. Mm-hmm. This is a one and done issue. Very, very reminiscent of the old EC horror titles.
Very cool.
Yeah, very reminiscent of that. The whole structure of the story, the way it wrapped up. I mean, it felt like a total flashback to those old EC horror titles, no doubt about it. Tales from the Crypt, and so on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Speaking of EC, they put out I don't know if you saw, they put out like an omnibus or like an artist edition that is an oversized collection of a bunch of old EC covers. Just the blacks and just the inks.
Oh, so, no, that I would like to see.
You should check that out if you haven't yet. I was looking through some lists. It's that time of year again where the best of lists come out and everybody does their, get ready for our top 10 or this, that, and the other. And so I was looking at some best reprints like omnibuses and stuff like that, because that was one of the categories of a thing that I was looking at, and I didn't realize that it came out. So I saw that and I'm like, I need to check into getting that because that looks like it's going to be the hotness.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Oh yeah, dude, just those covers were insane.
Yeah.
So I sat down and read a little bit. I'm still not completely caught up on my reading because I gotten back behind finals and all that stuff, but I am narrowing that gap. First and foremost on the list, a wrap up of a series that I really, really, really enjoyed from Image Comics. It was Post Americana. Steve Scrocci did the writing and the pencils on this. Dave Stewart on the covers with phonographics on the inks. This story took like 17 weird left turns to where it starts off being a wasteland, and then by the end of it, you've got a mecha heroine saving the day, meeting her mother with cartoon animatronic characters from Dead Hollywood as sidekicks. It was Steve Scrocci's brain is weird, and I love it. So I want to live inside there. Fun stuff. If you can get that collected, it's worth it, dude. The art's just gorgeous. In the middle of my short stack, a little Unbelievable Unteens number 4. This is written by Jeff Lemire, the great Jeff Lemire, with Mr. Tyler Crook on the watercolors. I'm gonna keep preaching about Black Hammer Universe. I think it's one of the most compelling superhero things that we have happening right now over at Dark Horse. This yet again was an excellent example of just why Tyler Crook is one of the best watercolor artists in the game today. It's stunning, and it's like most things in the Black Hammer universe, it's a love letter to some corner of the medium, and this is like his homage to the Teen Titans, to the Young Avengers, to these child, former sidekick super teams of George Perez, Marv Wolfman fame. Yeah. So it's great seeing what he did with them, and it was a cool little wrap up, little 4-issue series. And then last but not least, this is the point where Craig would utter a groan because he hates these things, but it is an annual, a 2021 annual to wrap up my year, and this is the Detective Comics annual called As Arkham Rises. This was excellent. This was way better than I expected because to be fair, we always joke about Craig not liking annuals. A lot of times they're not great, but this did something that old annuals do a lot. It actually played into what's been happening in the main series a little bit. You got some of that, but here's why it's even better. Written by Mariko Tamaki and Matthew Rosenberg. Tamaki right now, her detective run has been amazing. She is doing an incredible job on that. But here's where it really kicks in. Guess who did the art on this book? The one and only David Lapham.
Oh.
Yeah. Did all the inks, colored by Trish Mulville and Lee Luridge, with Adriana Mayer on the letters. And Victor Bogdanovich did a really, really great cover of this. But if you're a fan of David Lapham, then you're going to absolutely love looking at this book because he brings the heat all throughout. It is just that quintessential look that he gives to the book. And for my end, the story moralizes a little bit, but it was really great because what the entire story is about is the difference between Nightwing and Batman, between Bruce and Dick, whereas Batman and the city of Gotham, they just really want to continue pushing their troubled individuals into Arkham, locking the key, and some members of Gotham, some people, and Nightwing have a a newer way of thinking, or they still want to help these people. They've done bad and we need to do something, but locking them away forever is not curing them, and then they just escape and they hurt more people. What if we took a more holistic view on how to help these people? Like, they're still victims in their own right. I thought that was an incredible, just a lot of heart to the story.
Yeah.
And as somebody, like I said, the work I do with the van, like, that idea means a lot to me.
Yeah.
As far as the people that are looked down on everywhere still deserve some dignity and some level of compassion, even if they've done bad things. So really, really well delivered. Tamaki brought just a lot of strength to the story with Rosenberg.
Nice.
And yeah, you flip through there. I brought it to you. I want you to look at some of that Apple mark because you'll appreciate it. So, but that's our short stacks. It's good stuff all around. Hopefully, you guys at home were able to get a little bit of stuff read over this holiday break. And you know where you can come tell us about that? Matt, do you know? You know the secret?
The telephone?
Well, no, because we don't give out our numbers. That would be a terrible idea. Yeah. I don't even have your number. How are you going to share it with our listeners and not share it with me? You keep it secret. No, we have a Facebook group that you can come join. We're on there all the time. Right now people are posting pictures of the goodies they got over the holidays. But oftentimes we're talking about films that we've seen. We're talking about comics we've read. Really cool geek related stuff that we just found our way to in this little world. You can also check out panels and comments and stuff that we share on our Instagram and our Twitter feeds. We're at SFG Podcast on both of those because we're tech savvy, social media giants.
That's what I hear.
Influencers even.
Oh,
yeah. None of those things are true. I actually did have a really cool kind of moment via social media this week. So I'm reading this book. And it's a prose book, but it's a collection of interviews and panels transcribed that involve Gil Kane. Fantagraphics put it out. It's called Sparring with Gil. Part of that, they had a panel that was done between Gil Kane and R. Crumb, moderated by Gary Groth. Now, those two men didn't, R. Crumb didn't have a lot of respect for Gil Kane. Didn't have a lot of use for him. So it was a fun, kind of contentious little interview. So I'm tweeting, I'm sitting there on Twitter, so I tweeted it out. I was like, I would love to take and moderate a panel between two individuals who kind of come out of both of those schools. Like, to take the space of R. Crumb, I would love to interview Peter Bagg. And then, I don't know if you know this or not, Howard Chaykin was a student, worked for Gil Kane for years. Very, very good friend. And part of his style is brought out of Gil Kane's art. I would love to moderate a panel that would be like a spiritual successor to that. Well, somebody saw it, screenshotted it, and shared it to a Howard Chaykin fan group on Facebook, and Howard Chaykin saw it and just started talking about what that would be like. And hilariously just made a comment. It's like, I don't know if that would work the way you want it to, because I don't know that I don't know that Peter Bagg holds me with the same disregard that R. Crumb held Gil Kane.
Nice. That
cracked me up. He said, I could be wrong though.
Yeah.
And if you ever know Howard Chaykin, his attitude and just comedy comes out like that. That was a quintessential Chaykin statement. So just that little small interaction with him was pretty great.
Yeah, that's great.
Just talking with my friend Howie, just chit chatting, which Gil Kane actually calls him.
Oh,
in the book where he's talking, there's an interview that he did with the Comics Journal where he's talking about Howard Chaykin, and Howard would have been early 30s at this time.
Yeah,
and he calls him Howie repeatedly, and it cracked me up. So, loved it. But that's the good that social media can bring.
Yeah,
it can bring happiness. It
sure.
can also bring a whole lot of sadness if you're not careful.
Definitely.
You know what didn't bring sadness though?
I got one guess.
Get one. Oh, go ahead, lay it out.
King Conan.
That
issue
is
number
fact.
1.
That is a fact. So for those of you who are new to the show, maybe you're tapping into a New Year's resolution and starting early, that you're going to listen to more comics podcasts. Number one, that's a fantastic idea. You're a genius. Good job on you. Number two, this is a great place to start. So what we always do on this show is we pick a book to read, at the same time, sometimes together, and we talk about it because we like to bounce ideas off of each other to see what we thought. Now, sometimes we agree, we're all on the same page. Sometimes we highly disagree, but that just brings part of the fun to the show. That's part of being comics fans and comics nerds, right? So we do that here. And this week we decided to get together and we want to talk about King Conan #1. It's the new book, of course, from Marvel Comics. That's where Conan, the IP, lives now. This is written by Jason Aaron, who does a fantastic job on Conan, drawn by somebody that I think should always be given Conan books. That's Mr. Mahmud Asrar, with color by Matt Wilson. And I don't have the letterer down. Do you know who did the letters on the series?
Travis Lanham.
Travis, okay, nice. He's working for VC, right?
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, just a strong creative team all across the board. So not that there's going to be any surprises here, because we are so it's kind of like me. It's kind of like me talking about Jeff Lemire, right? Like I have a really hard time being objective because I love Jeff Lemire. When it comes to Conan, I have a really hard time being objective. Like there are some really probably poorly written Conan stories that I'll just go to bat for because it's Conan. Like I love the IP. I love the series. So probably not going to shock or surprise anybody with our opinions on the show about this, but just give me the 30,000-foot view of what you thought about the story.
Oh, I really like the story.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Dude, I had fun. It has all the hallmarks of just a quality Conan story.
Yeah,
like it just ticks all the boxes.
Yep.
So yeah, same. Definitely putting this on my. I don't even have to put this on my pull list. It just magically shows up.
It stays there.
Yeah, it just lives there. That's where Conan's real throne is on the top of my pull list. So what is the story about, you might be thinking here at home? Well, this is if you're not familiar with the concept of King Conan, right? Like maybe you've read The Barbarian, maybe you know The Conqueror, but King Conan is something you haven't dabbled much in. There is an era of Conan's life where he has just won. He's won the game. He sits on the throne of Aquilonia. And this is that Conan. He is an older man. He's grizzled. He's hardened. He's been through all the muck and all the, waded through buckets of blood and all that fun stuff to, just wear the crown. And heavy is the head, as they say. Well, Conan, something's going on in Aquilonia. And so Conan is not sitting on a stone at this moment. He has taken a ship and going to do some traveling, but ends up getting washed on this kind of little small island. It's a little shipwreck island where you can assume the reef around the place just crashes everything. So he finds himself on this beach, and the beach is just littered with the bodies of just hundreds and hundreds of ships that have presumably had the same thing happen. They're just bodies that have been there for hundreds of years and bodies that have been there for days, if not minutes. And he finds himself in a familiar position to what Conan has been in before, where inescapable odds. The universe has just thrown him a curveball. The world is taking no pity on him. He's on this island. There's no water, no food. It's a very small island, and fortunately, there's enough weapons laying around that he can replace the sword that he lost. So that's good, because Conan always needs a sword. Got to have one, or an axe, maybe a hammer, but mostly just axe. So he is doing what he needs to do to kind of pull himself together, to, I guess reset himself, and he starts realizing that maybe this island is something more than just a natural bottleneck for death and decay, that there might be some supernatural, otherworldly stuff happening on the island. And he's not wrong. And just kind of as he's starting to gather his bearings, he is set upon, pun intended, by Thoth-Amon, somebody that we've seen Conan run afoul. If you've read the Howard stuff, you know the name. If you've read the Roy Thomas stuff, you know the name. And so, Thoth-Amon is just kind of kicking it on this island, just being an evil wizard. How he got there, we don't really know. We can assume the same thing happened to him that happened to Conan. But these two gentlemen don't like each other, not even a little bit. They're not going to be buddies. They're not like Matt and I. They're not besties. And Thoth-Amon he has decided to take a moment. Even though he's stuck on this island, he's going to do some evil wizardry and use the blood of a king to help him in whatever type of spell he makes. So, he takes his snakes and some really great references to the film. where they straighten out a snake and use it as an arrow. And we've seen this a couple times. It's a trope that I love when it shows up. And he makes daggers out of these serpents because he's a follower of Set. He's a Setite, and tries to kill Conan. Well, number one, Conan is not so easily dispatched, even when he's in rough shape, even when he's hungry and lost on an island. But Conan's not the only threat here. And at the end of the story, the island, so to speak, rears its ugly head. And they realize that they are, squabbling amongst themselves is not going to do what they want it to do. That they've got a bigger threat here, and that's kind of where the story wraps up without spoiling anything too hard, right? Mm-hmm. I had a wonderful time with it. Just loved hitting all those different points that just make a Conan story work. Mahmud Asrar can draw Conan for the rest of his life, for all I care. I really, really like the way he draws. Well, he has there's no pretension to his lines. So when he draws, it's almost he's pulling something from Frazetta. I mean, and you have to as a Conan artist, right? Like I think you have to draw something from that well that is so linked with those covers from the novels and stuff. But his line doesn't have any pretentiousness to it, but it does have almost a regalness to it in the way that he positions the body. But he's not afraid to get dirty. Like he's not afraid to show these characters as grotesque. Not to the point that Frazetta did it. Like if you look at Frazetta, his art, like he makes it ugly when he wants to. Not his women. His women are just gorgeous and hippie and busty and everything that Frazetta is. But he's not like his men. They are ugly but for a reason. He intends it to be that way. Mahmud's men are not like that. Like there is no pretension, but there is a regalness to them, even when they're down in the shit. And I love it so much. There is a series of pinups in this book. He's walking through Conan's life essentially that shows you at kind of every stage of Conan's life. And it's funny. So I read these digitally on my tablet, and you can kind of you get a bigger screen. He signed each one of them at the bottom because he knows he's making bank. He's cashing in on that, and I can't blame him. So, what were some of the high points in this for you?
The action scenes.
Yeah.
This first page where Thothamon takes a swing at him and screams bleed for Thothamon. That's a cinematic moment I would love to see. But the action scenes are my favorite. As much as I like the pinup pages, just the fighting and the facial expressions between the two. I love this stuff, man. Especially, the way that Mahmud is drawing Thothamon is really, really good. I expected nothing less than what I got from Conan because we'd seen him do it before, but I really like the way he's drawn essentially old man Conan, basically. But man, these facial expressions of Thothamon are so good.
Dude, Mahmud does amazing facial expressions. Like that's one of the little details I think that sets him apart from a lot of other people. Like there was one panel that just kind of lives rent free in my brain from his first Conan series where Conan's jaw is crooked to the side and he's got spittle coming off of his jaw. And I just remember that. I'm like, dude, nobody else would have done that. Nobody else but Mahmud would have brought that level of just in that moment. Here's what this dude is literally frothing at the mouth and ready, just bloodlust.
Yeah. That the first page in that first Jason Aaron Mahmud Conan run that really got my attention. It's the first or second page in issue number 1 where Conan is being marched to the tree to be hung. Yeah. And there's no dialogue, but he's obviously, he's bound and walking to the tree and obviously cussing everybody around him for doing so. That's so good. Man, that page, oh God, that page was so good.
It's not actually, there was a scene, I didn't buy it, but there was one of those pages was on sale.
I know. I saw it online for sale.
I think Cadence is Mahmud's rep. I could be wrong about that. Forgive me if I am. But so I came real close to buying that one.
Man.
And there's from that series where he like flexes his neck and breaks the rope. I'm just like, that's the most Conan thing ever, breaking a rope with your neck. So I talked about some of the tropes that make a good Conan story that hit. One of them, and again, it ties back into not only like the literary aspects of Robert E. Howard, but some of the great scenes from the films and the comics that we've gotten before. One of my favorite scenes from the Arnold Schwarzenegger film is where he's on the Tree of Woe and the vulture flies down to get him, and he just bites the vulture. Because that's like Conan. He looks at death in the face and just disrespects it. There's a scene in this book where a vulture flies down and he just cusses the vulture. And like he punches it. He punches a vulture. I love that. I love those little moments because he is just not going down. He is going to be defiant and belligerent until the end. Like that's what makes a good Conan, and Jason Aaron, I think, really understands that. The way other few people really rarely do. There was you got a scene with sharks. If you've read some of the Conan stories where he is out at sea, where he's being a pirate, some of the Black Coast stories and stuff like that. Amazing, vivid Roy Thomas, and specifically from the comics, Roy Thomas derived shark scenes. Where he's battling in just a maw of teeth. It's incredible. I love these two together as far as a creative team on Conan. Mahmud and Jason Aaron they really just, I think that they have the shorthand and they just understand these characters.
Feels that way.
And they bring so much to the table with it. So I am solidly on board.
Oh, of course.
I want more of this. I cannot wait to get more of this. If 2022 wants to bring us more Conan, I will not argue with 2022. It can do so. Got any kind of final things you want to?
No, I mean everything you said. I'm on board, man. I can't wait to read more of it. I'm really anxious to see where this goes. That's all I got to say, I guess.
I'll throw one more thing in there. And again, I don't want to spoil kind of some of the stuff because I really do think people should, and I hope they want to go read this. But there's a moment where it references Conan's son, Khan, who is presumably out in the world doing stuff. Whether he's in Aquilonia or not, we don't really know. I would really like to see more of that. I would like to see something like that's a character that hasn't been readily explored very much, I don't think. From the son of Conan. I would like to see him kind of developed as a character, and I don't know if we're going to get that here, but that's always something I've been curious about, like especially in his later stages, in his late, while he's a king and at the end of his kind of time, like what it's like for Conan to build up and pass down his legacy.
Man, that feels like something Jason Aaron wants to. That feels like something that'd be right up his alley. And whether we get it or not, it's anybody's guess. But man, if we were to get something from Jason Aaron, son of Conan, that seems easily predictable.
I want to see Scotty Young do it. Conan the dad. give me Scotty Young, Conan the dad. That'd be fun. So, well, all right, just 4 thumbs up all around.
Definitely.
Really, really enjoyed it. So it's the end of the month, right?
Yep.
And at the end of the month, we kind of do just a little loose show. We call it the Chaos episode. We don't structure it. Normally what we'll do on a regular, quote-unquote regular show is we'll bounce back comics back and forth. I read this, and I'll tell you about it. Matt read that. He'll tell you about it. We like to take a different approach. We like to end our months on by switching things up a little bit and just chit-chatting. Just talking.
Yep.
Particularly, we'll bring up a subject before we have done like listener questions and go kind of off the rails and just see what kind of tangents we go down. And we're going to carry that through, but we figured since it's the last episode of the year and we just saw a major blockbuster moment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, why not chat about it? Why not? We're going to bring you some Spider-Man No Way Home and talk about that. Now, like comics, if you haven't seen the film yet, we don't want to spoil your experience. If you're listening to this and you haven't, And you can safely do so. I know with the new Omicron variant, there's a lot of folks, really good friends of ours, who have just said, yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get to see it, but I'm not doing theaters right now. And I mean, these are folks who live in bigger cities and more populated places, so I can't blame them for that. But I don't want to ruin your experience. So hit the pause button, go watch the movie, and then maybe, just put a pin in this one.
Yep.
Come back and visit it later. So I guess we'll just kind of do this the same way we do comics, and start off like, from just way far off. How did the movie treat you? What did you think about it?
I really liked it. I mean, I liked it more than I thought I would. I had, I guess you'd say mediocre interest this whole time, leading up to its release, and then the buzz. I was like, okay, well maybe I need to be a little bit more proactive as far as going and seeing this. So I went ahead and went and saw it the week after it released. Yeah. And yeah, I really liked the movie. Liked it much better than I thought I would.
I loved this film, like capital L loved it. It was incredibly ambitious.
Yeah.
Which could have worked against it, if that makes sense. So when I was kind of like you, all the buzz around it, the build up, will they, won't they do this? Are they going to pull these characters from the other quote unquote universes? Are we going to get Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire? And just then pulling at the strings of nostalgia. I was going to be really disappointed if they didn't, because the build up, my interest was so peaked, and I was so like the potential there was a lot.
Yeah.
And if they didn't live up to it, that was going to be a very diminishing return for the film. I personally think they lived up to it. I thought the movie was fun. It had a ton of heart. It righted some what I felt like were wrongs in the development of this Peter Parker that we've seen before, wherein he in the past has relied on money. Where they don't really show off just how incredibly intelligent Pete is.
Yeah.
Because to me, Pete's he's an egghead. Like, he's the smartest guy in most rooms.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland's version of the character, and that, just the way it's written, they really didn't show off just how smart he is. He's just kind of he's smart, but he's just kind of a average smart high school kid. And they haven't really shown him to be the genius that he is until this film, and that meant a lot to me, really bringing that home. So the story picks up where Spider-Man Far From Home left off. Jake Gyllenhaal's version of Mysterio basically outed Pete, right? Like, the world knows his identity now, and for Spider-Man, and kind of for only Spider-Man at this point, he's like one of the last vestiges of the quote-unquote secret identity for the Marvel Universe especially. People know who he is now, and it's messed with everything. Like, his friends are trying to get into college, and they're getting rejected because, MJ and Ned are known associates of Pete. They're known associates of Spider-Man, so, like, colleges don't want them. They, like, their entire kind of life, their future has been derailed, and they haven't been able to do anything with it. And so Pete has kind of an idea. He goes to his buddy Steven, as he gets to call him, Doctor Strange, and they are going to reset things. He asks Steven, who's no longer the master of the mystic arts at this point. Wong has taken that mantle, but he wants a spell that's going to make people forget that he was Spider-Man. Except, in pure comical Pete fashion, he changes the spell, like, right in the middle of it. Like, he just decides to muck with the recipe, and that throws everything off kilter, and leads to a ton of problems where what was going to happen is everybody was going to forget who he was. But by stopping it and by changing it, they cracked the multiverse. They cracked the walls between all of these worlds, and other things, other villains and heroes alike from these other universes start to spill through into this world, and you get some fan favorites, man. This was fan service done the right way. You get villains that we saw in Tobey Maguire's MCU, like you get the Sandman, you get Doc Ock, you get Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, but you also get some bad guys from Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, like you get Electro, which was great. Like and you get the lizard. You can't leave him out. He was a fun part in the story too. So it really was. It was fan service done in the best of ways. And it just like all of these people seem to know Pete, but they don't know this Pete. And Alfred Molina, especially Doc Ock, very quickly realizes that this is like what's happened. Like he's in a whole nother universe, and that is ripe with possibilities. But you know what, Alfred Molina's character, his version of Doc Ock is a really good segue into the Detective Comics Arkham series that I spoke about in my short stack, because his character, you know, he's mentally ill. It's not his fault. This machine, his arms have taken over, and much like Dick Grayson in that story, Peter Parker in the movie wants to help, not hurt. Like he's looking for a more reformative form of justice, and so he goes to work with some incredibly intelligent people to fix things. He wants to try to, you know, fix the microchip that's running these arms, because Doc Ock, you know, Otto Octavius in this version is not a bad person at heart.
Yeah.
Like he's being forced to do these things by these mechanical arms. And so, you know, he starts to help them, and they start going through the motions. And this is aided in part by the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Well, I should say it's not necessarily the Green Goblin, but it's like you really... Willem Dafoe does this really cool thing just to showcase his amazing acting abilities, where when he is the Green Goblin, when he's that persona, you know it.
Yeah.
And in the flip of a switch, he can do something with his facial, like literally the man has control of his facial muscular structure, where he just does something completely different and is a totally different character. Totally, like he's Norman Osborn, but the scared and broken Norman Osborn. And in the flip of a switch, he can just change the entire tone of a scene. And it's spectacular to watch. And then he has a third thing where he is aloof, where you don't know who's driving the vehicle, so to speak, and spends a lot of time in that mode, and it builds up the suspense for the audience. I think it did. Like I found myself wondering. I was like, I feel like this is going to be like he's going to pull the bait and switch here, and did a little bit, but not so much that it was it was perfectly done. He threaded the needle. He is helping Pete build all these things that are going to help pull everybody together, and then they've got to figure out a way to get everybody sent back to the universes. But a lot of folks don't want to do that. And that creates some real challenges. Not only that, but again, with the fact that Pete is persona non grata. Everybody hates him, which is cultivated and promoted in a large part by J. Jonah Jameson, who in this world is an internet news sensation, hype grifter figure, which I thought is fantastic. Jim Simonson, NK...
MK or J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons, yeah, one of those names.
Yeah,
J.K.S. He's played several versions of this character now, and really brings just a gravitas and a hilarity, almost like a Stephen Colbert quality to him with Stephen Colbert's old show, where he tried to pose as just a hardened conservative, but was just on the edge enough to it was satire.
Yeah.
That bleeds through in his stuff, in this version, in a hilarious kind of way, and I thought it was great. So, by the end of the film, you know, the culmination of having 3 Spider-Men break through, and almost this brotherly team up, where Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's characters swoop in to help save the day, but to teach Pete really about who he is, and in a weird way, those two individuals take on an Uncle Ben role, like almost this shepherding, you know, not necessarily like a cookie cutter fortune cookie type one liners, but they really do help him figure out the heart and who he is and work through some stuff. And inevitably it helps them, because they do a really good job of reprising their characters. They are not changing those characters. They are bringing their Spider-Man to the screen.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield Spider-Man has his comeuppance He has his moment. He gets to he saves the girl.
Yeah.
He, a really hilarious thing. They're talking about all the other villains that Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland Spider-Man have fought. He's like, oh man, you guys are awesome. I just fought like a dude in a rhino suit and somebody had like a stub toe and a bad attitude.
Yeah.
And Tobey Maguire steps in. He's like, no, we're not doing this self-deprecation thing. Like you're awesome. Like totally big brothered it. And took on a lot of the characterization of like the Spider-Man from the Into the Spider-Verse animated.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really did feel like he would be perfect for bringing a live action version of that Pete to the screen. And that's a little bit of what we got, which is part and parcel of what I loved about the film so much, is that, again, this was fan service done the right way, right? Like it was bridging gaps, bringing everything together, but it incorporated not only the prior films, but it incorporated the best of the comic books.
Yeah.
It incorporated the video game. You saw different versions of the outfits, which if you've never played the Spider-Man PlayStation games, like those are pulled straight from the video game. Mm-hmm. They're like bonus suits that you can wear, like the black and yellow one, straight up out of the video game.
Yeah.
Done really, really creatively, where they just turn the suit inside out.
Yeah.
So man, like, I'm not that person. I mean, we've talked about this before. My favorite MCU film for a long time has been Winter Soldier. I'm not the person that goes and watches an MCU film and like the last thing I watched is the best movie, but this is in the running for like my favorite MCU film.
That's interesting.
Yeah, just because it was ambitious, and it was successful.
It certainly was. Yeah.
It was successful in its ambition, and it just had so much heart.
Yeah.
So what? Like I've spoke too long. Tell me. Like you take the wheel.
So I've not been, leading up to the movie, outside of the television commercials, I've avoided putting my ear to the ground of this movie.
Yeah.
So I didn't see any of this stuff coming that wasn't in the television commercials.
Nice. So
whenever Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield showed up, I was like, whoa, okay, yeah. They are going for it. So, that I really appreciated. I really appreciated when Matt Murdock showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Really appreciated that. So yeah, what exactly they went for in this movie, I was like, wow, hats off to them. The multiverse thing also is great, not only because of what it allowed them to do for this story and to wrap up this Spider-Man trilogy, but what that opens the doors easily for them to do moving forward in the MCU. Of course, I'm sitting there watching this, and I couldn't help myself. I'm like, well, will a mutant show up?
Yeah.
Will they mention a mutant?
Yeah.
Is that a mutant? When you can see the figures and the multi, and then who's going to come? Yeah, I just couldn't help myself in hoping something like that happened. But yeah, I thought it was very well done. I mean, it's a 2.5 hour movie, and it didn't feel like that.
It was a fast 2.5 hours.
I mean, it really did not feel like 2.5 hours, I have to say. So yeah, I recommend it, even though I went into it, when the movie was being released, I was going to watch it, but I wasn't excited about it. I was just like, oh, okay, they're wrapping it up, whatever. But it was done so well. Yeah, I'm now reaching out to everybody in my social circle saying, no, you need to go check it out. Yeah. It's really good. It really is. And they did so much in this movie. Yeah. It's just going to be really interesting to see what they do moving forward. Like what happens to certain characters, the multiverse thing, where's this going with the next Doctor Strange movie? Because the title of the next Doctor Strange movie is Into the Multiverse or something like that. Yeah. This just feels like a turning point for the MCU.
It's a launch pad.
Where they're going to take it's really going to lead them into this new direction, which they have to go into because, what everybody calls phase 1 just basically wrapped up with Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to what the future holds for these, no doubt about it.
Same. Well, and it's great too because the interest, with comics, none of these characters have a shelf life, right? Like with comics, you can draw Steve Rogers the same for 400 years if you want.
Yeah.
You can Spider-Man can remain 23 for eternity
Yeah.
if he needs to. But when it comes to these live action things, they have a shelf life
Yeah.
because these actors get older. This is the first time that I've really seen it work in a way that they're like, yeah, we are acknowledging that these movies have some repetition to them.
Yeah.
But that we can work with that. We can make that a tool.
Yeah.
We can show you, and the multiverse, like you said, is a great mechanism for that. It's a meta narrative, that I think started the first time I recall seeing something akin to this. Not the same thing, but it was Birdman, where you have Michael Keaton and I'm spacing on the name. He played the Hulk and American History X.
Norton.
Yeah, Ed Norton. So you have both of those men who are playing quote-unquote washed-up former superhero actors who everybody just decided they were done with. And in a way, they're playing themselves. But it acknowledges, like they couldn't use Batman, but he's Batman.
Yeah.
Birdman was Batman. And so they take this kind of meta-narrative that pulls from history and pulls from the fact that, humans age, humans grow, and they really played it up and played into it, and it is great to see that. It also, I don't know if it'll happen, but it lets us know that we might see certain characters again in some version. Like, if there is multiple Spider-Men, that implies that there's multiple Tony Starks.
Yeah, that's because one of the things that this makes this easily answers is what everybody was questioning is like when the X-Men finally show up, how the hell are you going to explain why they weren't there for Infinity War? That's been answered.
Yeah.
I mean, this opens the door for them to do whatever they want. This is
same for Fantastic Four.
All these things they can do now, and that is no longer an obstacle they're going to have to get around or a question they're going to have to answer because of this. So it's a really smart way to let them do whatever they want without having to worry about narrative obstacles.
Right.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, in a way, it's a cheat, but it's a cheat that's done really, really well.
Yeah.
So far, now things could change. We'll see. But as far as a narrative tool goes, they're using it really, really well.
You think so? I'm convinced, man. So I think Tom Holland may have one more Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
And then we're getting Miles Morales.
I hope so.
I don't see any way around that.
I don't want to. Well, so I love Tom Holland's character, and I don't want not to see Tom Holland's character. Obviously, he's great, but I would love to see. I would love to see Miles come in the universe, and you actually get a joke in this film that makes me think that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So Electro, who's played by Jamie Foxx, makes a comment. It's like, in one of these universes, there's got to be a black Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
I'm not joking when the entire theater clapped when he said that. And there were several moments, and I saw it opening night. I saw it on Thursday.
Yeah.
And there were several moments where people just erupted, myself included, stood up and clapped. But that moment, that joke just landed so well with that audience. They went for it. So, and so I think it's going to happen. And he's such a popular character. Into the Spider-Verse did so well.
Yeah.
The video game, the Miles Morales video game did so well that, and if what I said earlier is true, if these incorporations, of video game elements, and one could argue, and I think there's a strong argument to be made that the Peter Parker played by not Andrew Garfield, played by Tobey Maguire, this older version might actually be the Peter Parker from Into the Spider-Verse. So because he deals with that older version of himself.
Yeah.
So we might actually see the fact that the video game and Into the Spider-Verse are actually part and parcel of the MCU. Now you can back that up with evidence from. Did you stick around for both of the?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so. Number one, I thought this was also interesting. It's the first time I remember an MCU doing a whole trailer for the next film as the end credit scene.
Yeah.
So, the end credit scene for Doctor Strange is just the trailer for Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
You see Dark Doctor Strange in this, which is the same version and the same character that you saw from the What If series, the animated show. That version of Doctor Strange is who you saw in the trailer. So we now know that the animated What If series is actually, like, as far as like this grander multiversal continuity matters.
Yeah.
Like it's a check mark on that list. Same with, like you said, Matt Murdock. So when he shows up, it's Matt Murdock from the Netflix version of Matt Murdock, which is cool. And if you're watching Hawkeye, then you've also seen another character from that world show up. It's been post 2 years. We had these long conversations when everybody was like, "Oh, this is terrible that they're taking this and save the Netflix verse and this, that, and the other." And yeah, oh, maybe they can just do a partnership. And I was like, "No, guys, like for property law reasons, IP law reasons, like they can't. Like they're breaking off of Netflix, like they can't redo those things." But if you read those contracts, they had a 2-year window. They couldn't, like Marvel couldn't use those characters for 2 years. And then they can do whatever they want to.
Yeah.
And we've reached that point. So now they're like they've done a really smart thing and rehired those actors. So the whole point, and what I'm getting at, is they are doing something unique in a shared universe where they are saying, "Hey, that video game that you just played, that you just enjoyed, that fits into this.
Yeah.
That matters. That old thing that you remember, that beloved thing from your childhood, matters. Like it works. You don't have to forget it. You don't have to pretend like there was a reset and these things don't exist anymore. Or that just because it's in a different medium that it doesn't play off of one another.
Yeah.
That it's not like part of the puzzle. I thought it was great, man.
Oh, yeah.
Just like I said, it's very, very ambitious.
Mm-hmm. And they pulled it off really well.
They did.
That needs to be said.
Yeah.
They went for it and they nailed it. That's not easy, man.
If you were to take, and I haven't done this, but if you were to take to like write down on a piece of paper all of the like major quote unquote plot points that are in this film, it would be like a scroll. You could just unroll it. And for them to do, like you said earlier, as much as they did, and this movie still feel as balanced as it is, and for it not to be bogged down, that's a feat in and of itself.
Well, it's something I just thought of. It didn't even occur to me. Is there's a ton of people in this movie, a lot of characters, and it didn't feel like the story was bogged down in that.
Yeah,
it's kind of in so many of these superhero movies there has to be two villains, and it feels like bogged down because there's two villains.
And this
for example,
you had like 6.
And this you had a ton of them, and then you had 3 Spider-Man, and then you had everything felt very natural, very conducive. Yeah, it didn't feel like there was too much. When in some other movies, 2 villains feels like too much.
Yeah,
that didn't even occur to me till just now.
It's just that's how that's how just well orchestrated I feel like the script was, and you can tell everybody really put their heart into this movie. Like everybody really wanted this movie to, from not only the cast but from the directing staff, everybody. I think they knew what this movie could be, like the importance of this film from a craft perspective, not just from a film perspective or just from an enjoyment perspective. But I think they just put a lot of love into it, a lot of soul, and it's shown through, man. Like it is. Like I found myself constantly remembering that panel, and we talked about this last episode. The panel from either the final or the penultimate Ditko issue, where he's basically doing a push-up. Like he's pushing the machine off. Yeah. Like there's an energy, there is a feeling, an emotion in that scene that I think that they were able to distill and distribute all throughout this film.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's really hard for me, and recency bias is a real thing, right? Like, and we've talked about that before, but it's really hard for me not to sit here and think, hey, this might be I'm not going to say best because I'm not qualified to make that statement, but might be my favorite MCU film. And there's been some amazing ones, and I didn't think a Spider-Man film would be that. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, man, if you haven't seen it, and like I said, if you can get to a theater and go check it out, because it's breaking records like across the board.
Yeah.
I was happy to see that.
Oh yeah, same. So, yeah.
I don't want to spoil that. There's a like Uncle Ben is present in this movie in different ways.
Yeah.
And in neat ways. And like I said, they filled that gap for me.
Yeah.
Because I've said the whole time, like, it's weird having a Spider-Man where Uncle Ben isn't a motivating factor.
Yeah.
And they filled that gap with Uncle Ben, but without Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you get the mention of it from the other universes and stuff. And how much they just loved that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but I don't like. There's a heartbreaking moment in the film. That like this film will put you through it. Like you will go through the emotional gamut.
Yeah.
The labyrinth of laugh, cry, and like full like stop. I've been in a weird like place where nostalgia and sentimentality like will make me cry at the drop of a hat, just because of things with the dog that happened a few weeks ago. And so I'm like watching this movie and just like silent tears streaming down my face, and I'm just exuberant. And, it was great, man. So, well, final thoughts, buddy. What you got anything that you want to just wrap up with it?
One little touch that I appreciated was the way that the final scene in the movie. There's something in the final. I'm not going to spoil it, but I really, really appreciated the final scene in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that without spoiling anything?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Just go. I'd say I need to go watch it again because I need to know which scene you're talking about. Yeah. Off of it. I didn't have a favorite part of this film. Like I can't pinpoint anything that I could say was my quote unquote favorite part because there were just so many moments. Just so many moments that were just fun.
Yeah.
I loved the last end credit. Well, so there's two end credit scenes, or quote unquote mid credit and end credit. Yeah. Where you see another Sony Marvel-verse character show up briefly and then go away, but leaves a little something behind. And then, man, I loved seeing that trailer. That was the first time we hadn't seen the trailer yet for the next Doctor Strange movie. It's the first time I'd seen it. I think anybody had seen it. And some of the characters that we know are coming.
Yeah.
Like the first look for some of those characters. Without saying who it was, I'm a huge Young Avengers fan, man. I love those kids. Whether it's the original, look, if they want to give me Wiccan and Hulkling on the screen, awesome. They weren't in that trailer, but there are other Young Avengers who have been set up and that we know are coming, and seeing them for the first time just gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that, the gods are the comic book gods, the geek gods are going to bless me with a Young Avengers film before it's all said and done with. And I think if they do, then we just got some of the first inklings of that.
Yeah.
So I'm about it. But was there I know you said the last scene was one you really appreciated. Was that your favorite moment, or was there a other favorite moment for you?
Man, I don't really have any standout moments, except for when Doc Ock showed up.
Yeah.
I just love when the tentacles, started bursting through the bridge, man. Doc Ock's my favorite Spider-Man villain.
Mm-hmm.
So the more he's fighting Doc Ock on the screen, the better. So when he initially showed up, I loved that part. That was great.
I do have some umbrage. I have one piece of umbrage in this. We almost got the Sinister Six. Almost. We didn't see Kraven. I was really hoping to see like a Kraven for the first time.
I wasn't expecting to see a new villain in this movie because of what it is.
Yeah.
But I think Kraven's coming.
That's my favorite. He's my favorite Spidey villain. And we didn't see him, and I wanted it so bad. I'm hoping we'll see him before, because we haven't seen that on.
Nope.
That's one of them. I mean, that's the one for me that we haven't seen. So I'm hoping we get that. But and we also didn't get the meme where the three Spider-Men are pointing at each other in a circle. We got something similar to that.
Yeah.
We didn't get the meme though, the quote unquote the meme. So. Tobey Maguire explaining how his web shooter works.
Yeah.
It was great. So, well, all right. Like I said, 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know how you rate these things.
Yeah.
But I think this was excellent. Like if this is the direction they're going in, then it's a good direction.
Yep.
We didn't really mention Zendaya. I thought Zendaya did better in this film. Like she really seemed to have came out of her shell. She was funnier than this film than she has been before. She really embraced the characterization of MJ, and brought something extra to it that really fleshed out who that character is in this universe in her own right. Like she's not Mary Jane,
right?
She's MJ. She's her own version of this, and I think really really gave some meat to that bone. Like, really, because we didn't really know what to think about her or make, or at least I didn't, because she didn't have a lot of like really personifying moments in the last several films. She had some. I won't take anything away from her, but in this one, really feels like she fleshed the role out. So kudos to her, especially. Zendaya is an excellent actress. Can't wait to see more of her in the next Dune film.
Word to that.
It was going to get mentioned. Right?
Word to that.
We were going to make sure we threw that in there. So, well, all right. Any films on the slate that you're hoping to see coming up soon?
Absolutely.
What you got?
In March, The Batman.
Yeah.
I'm stoked for this movie. It looks amazing.
It really does. It really, really does.
One day, maybe, I'll say, you know what? I think there's been enough Batman movies, but this day hasn't happened yet.
Well, so that day has happened for me, but then they made another Batman movie and it was better. So it really for me, it really feels like it depends on which version of the Batman movie is the last one I saw. Like when I saw the third Nolan film, I'm like, yeah, I'm good with Batman. We can do somebody else now. And then they made another movie and it was better. So, so I feel that way. As far as nerd stuff goes, again, we're gonna have to wait a little bit. Cannot wait to see the next Dune film when it comes out.
Man.
Like that's going to be hopefully within the next 2 years.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I still have not seen House of Gucci, and I really want to see that.
Yeah, that looks good.
That looks fantastic. The Kingsman is out, and I would really like to see that. It plays off of did you ever watch the first Kingsman movie?
No.
It was okay. Like it's not anything that you necessarily have to see. It was fun. I like quirky spy movies. So I'll go see it. Our friend Wendy used to do the Double Page Spread podcast. She went and saw it, and she's a James Bond fanatic. She loves spy movies, and she gives it her like stamp of approval. So that means something. So I kind of want to go see it based on that. So yeah, man, there's a lot of good stuff coming out. And this is going to be the last time that you hear our voices this year. To pull the Jerry joke. You're not going to see you till next year. It's going to be a whole year. We hope everybody has a fantastic new year, but we're gonna send you off into the new year the way we always do, by giving you guys a glimpse of things to come. So you can write it down. You can head to your local comic shop. For us, that is Kapow Comics over in Sherwood, Arkansas. If you're ever in Central Arkansas, you need somewhere to go, hit us up. We'll tell you how to get there. Great store, and I'm not just saying that because the owner's like back here doing stuff, and he lets us use his space. But it really is a fantastic store. So come check it out. You got one more week to buy books before 2022 hits, and we hope you do that. So why don't you tell them a book that they need to go grab this next week, bud?
Devil's Reign. Number 2. This is the new Daredevil arc from Marvel by Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cicchetto. If you missed the first run by these guys, now's the time to jump on, start the new arc, because it started off with a bang, and I'm really looking forward to how it's going. Now, Wilson Fisk is mayor of New York, and he has made vigilantism illegal, and they ain't having it.
There's a you mentioned it before. There's a really great Steve moment.
Yeah.
In that first issue.
Absolutely.
So, well, I'm gonna see your Marvel and raise you some DC, and tell folks to go grab Human Target number 3 out this next week. I absolutely loved the first issue. This is written by Tom King, drawn by Greg Smallwood. That's a great set. I love Smallwood, so I'll read just about everything Tom King writes. This is going to be another one of his 12-issue maxi series from Black Label, and looks like we're getting a little Booster Gold thrown into the mix.
Oh, nice.
So, I haven't read a lot of Human Target, but they made a TV show about it. I've read one series, and I forget who the creative team was on that, but fun stuff. So go check that out. We got anything else we need to tell the folks?
We've told them all they need to know.
That's true. Go read King Conan number 1 if you haven't. Hopefully we sold you on that, because it is phenomenal. So, all right. Well, with that, we're gonna jump off here and go plan our New Year's celebrations, which probably is gonna include some fuzzy socks and like 9 o'clock sleep time, because that's where we're at in life. Seriously, folks, we hope you had a fantastic holiday. We hope your Christmas was merry and bright. Today, as we're recording, this is Kwanzaa, so if you celebrate that, blessings and light on you. And then have a very safe, and I want to emphasize safe New Year and Happy New Year. The folks who listen to this show, our friends and stuff, you guys bring a lot of light into the world, and we want the new year to start off excellent. We need you in the world doing great things. So, just be careful and take care of yourself. And in the meantime, go forth and love some comics.
Happy New Year.
Yay. Poppers, streamers.
Yeah, all of it.